Today is July 25th, 2012, and we are interviewing Daniel Kaeb at the Bloomington, Illinois Armory. Mr. Kaeb is 63 years old, having been born on December 7th, 1948. My name is Sarah Ingalls, and I'll be the interviewer. Mr. Kaeb, could you state for the recording what war and branch of service you served in?
Vietnam. I was in the Army.
And what was your rank?
My rank at that time was Specialist 4, E4.
And what was your ending rank?
My ending rank, 20 years later, was Sergeant First Class, or E7.
And what was your job assignment when you were serving in Vietnam?
I was a combat medic.
Combat medic. Oh, okay. Were you awarded any medals or citations?
Yes, I was.
And what were they?
The main medals that I was awarded was the Purple Heart, Air Medal, Army Commendation with the V device, and Bronze Star with the V device. There were many other awards that followed that.
Well, let's see. Did you get to do anything with battle planning? Can you share any of that with us? Were combat medics ever really led into the battle planning at all?
As far as the planning, no, we assisted the commanders as far as the strategic advice for health purposes.
Really? Okay. What kind of advice? What are some examples?
Contaminated areas after battles, methods of cleaning them up and avoiding such diseases as hepatitis. Yeah.
Okay. Well, first we'll go into like the personal life of while you were in Vietnam. How did you get along with fellow officers?
I got along fine with everyone.
Yeah. And
no
your
problem.
fellow soldiers?
Yes.
Yeah.
Very versatile type person, and I could get along with absolutely anyone that I served with.
Yeah. Was it different, versus an officer versus a fellow soldier, how you handled yourself?
There didn't seem to be any difference in the combat area itself, because we all seemed like we were in the same boat, or like one large family, and we respected each other's position and worked very well together that way.
Did you feel any pressure, stress, anxiety certain times?
Stress and anxiety most of the time, just when we were in our ambushes in the heat of the battles and all that stuff. There were stressful situations.
And what about during?
But those I don't really speak about very much.
Right. During more peaceful times, when down times, you're not in the battle, was there a lot of stress and anxiety then, or?
In the downtime, they kept us busy with other jobs, such as details of helping the engineers do mine sweeping on roads. Medics would go out to the villages and help initiate the med-calfs and treat women and children and go to the orphanages and stuff like that.
Okay. Did you keep a personal diary while you were there?
No, I didn't. I had what was those little box cameras, X15 cameras, and I took mostly slide pictures.
Yeah.
And coincidentally, those slide pictures set up in my parents' attic for about 37 years. And when we sold their house, those pictures surfaced, and I got those cleaned up with a little bit of alcohol and Q-tips and scanned and reproduced onto a CD. Later on, the CD had the pictures transformed from that CD back into 4x6s, so I could put my own album back together again.
Great. Can you tell me about a couple of your most memorable experiences?
One of the most memorable experiences was actually having fought in the same mission with a hometown buddy, a classmate. He was in one company and I was in the other company. And when we finished up, we ran into her, we met each other, and I managed to be able to transfer to his company, and then he and I served together for the remainder of my time over there.
How long were you over there?
I was there for 1 year.
1 year. Okay. Um, let's see. Well, were you able to stay in touch with your family while over there?
Yes, the family, the mail seemed to come and go pretty quick over in Vietnam. There again, one of the memorable moments was my mother sending a chocolate cake, which is a favorite. She was good at packing those cakes, and she sent it, and it arrived in 7 days, all in one piece. And there were a bunch of us sitting there eating a lot of that cake in the hot weather.
Oh,
For a cake to actually make it there in 7 days and still be good, that was fascinating.
yeah.
Yeah.
Did you have anything on you for good luck or, anything you used to make you feel more comfortable or get you through the day?
Did I what?
Did you have anything that would get you through the day? Good luck charm or anything like that?
No, I just drew a special relationship at one point with a platoon sergeant that used to share his mail with me when I didn't get mail, and I shared mine with him, and had just good friendships that we had over there.
Yeah.
And when I was out doing my duties, he would help cook up my sea rations and my meals for me. So that was pretty nice to have good relationships over there.
Yeah. Have you continued any of those relationships with friends? Do you still contact them today or?
I just got involved with that most recently. I went to a reunion in Georgia in May of 2012. I'm due to go to another one in Nashville in September 22nd, 23rd, and then another one September 29th in Hershey, Pennsylvania.
Yeah, just about everywhere. Yeah. What happens at the
That was just most recently where we started touching base or getting in contact with each other. And there's a lot to share after 43 years.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Did you have plenty of supplies?
I had no problem with supplies. It seemed like the infantry companies always had the priority on the supplies. Whether it was ammunition or whether it was medical supplies, we had the priority.
Okay. And what was the food like while you were there? The sea rations and how was that?
They were kind of heavy to carry in our backpack. We would try to go for the dehydrated or long-range patrol meals as often as possible because they were much lighter to carry. And then when we would get back to the base camp, the mess halls or dining facilities would have a lot of dehydrated foods. I guess that was in order to maintain the foods. The tomatoes and the potatoes and things like that were dehydrated. They even had dehydrated steaks. But, I found all that pretty interesting.
Yeah. How did it taste? Was it surprisingly good or?
After we were out in the field, I guess that tasted pretty good.
Yeah. Yeah. And in terms of entertainment, how did you entertain yourself during the whole time? Especially during when you weren't in battle, how did you keep yourself occupied?
We had a mascot. We had a dog.
Yeah, yeah. Tell us about it.
But the dog had 7 puppies,
Oh,
and had the puppies so quick, I had to kind of give her a little bit of a helping hand there.
yeah. What kind of
But,
dog was it?
We would get together and just have our little evening get-togethers and call it a party or whatever.
Huh.
But,
Did you have any entertainers come while you were there?
entertainers, USO. I was able to see USO one time while I was over there, and then another time they flew out and to our location. And they were there for about 15 minutes, and it just wasn't safe enough. So entertainment coming to us, it was little or next to nothing.
Mhm. Uh, did you travel while you were in the service?
Yes, I did. Starting from Vietnam, I did take an R&R to Philippine Islands, to Manila. And I found that fascinating because Corregidor Islands was one of the major battles in World War II. And I was able to go there and take pictures where my uncle actually served. So that was a plus for me. The rest of the time in service, yes, I traveled all over the United States, and I spent 5 years in Germany, and I traveled all over Europe. So I had some pretty good times there.
Do you recall any particularly humorous events, any unusual events during that time, during service in general?
Uh, Humorous or unusual?
Yeah. Did you pull any pranks on your buddies or, um, you know, anything that just kind of pops out at you that had happened?
Nothing that stands out to me because we were always on. We were always trying to pull pranks on each other.
What
But
kind of pranks? You remember any of them, or did they get you
oh,
too?
oh yes, everybody would get it. But I I wouldn't know where to begin or what to say because we always had a pretty good time.
Yeah.
And that goes right down to the home life. If we were raising families while we were in the service, and we uh, lived government housing or otherwise, we would get together a lot of times and play cards, spades and crazy eights or whatever. We do all kinds of things, and that seemed to be fairly easy. Just put on a 30-cup coffee pot and some cookies, and you were good to go.
Well, let's talk about after your service. Do you recall the day your service ended?
Yes, my service ended on the 1st of April of 1989, which means the entire 20 years must have been an April Fool's joke.
Where were you when you were discharged?
I was in Fort Dix, New Jersey.
And let's see, were others discharged with you at the time, or were you the only one?
I was the only one from Fort Dix.
Okay.
Yes.
And what did you do in the days afterward? Did you resume your job, start a new career, or?
I came back to Bloomington and I started working at Nestle Bike Candy Company here. And I worked there for 18 years before I retired.
Okay. Let's see. How was it? What was it like coming back to civilian life after you've been over in Vietnam? Was it a hard transition?
For some people, it may be, but not for myself. That might have to do with the way I was raised up. And just come back home, get a job, and go to work.
Did you? So you said you had some close friendships, and you said you're attending reunions. So you said you have 2 more to go to for reunions
This year.
This year, yeah. And do you plan to do any more after that?
Oh, yes.
Yeah, yeah. Did you join a veterans organization?
I belong to American Veterans, Disabled American Veterans, and VFW.
Okay. Do you do any activities there? Does that organization do any community service or?
Oh, I help them support them in their fundraising drives, things of that nature. And service to other veterans. I go visit other veterans, those that are not able to get out, nursing homes and things of that nature.
And how was your time in the service? Your experiences in the service? How has that affected your overall life?
I feel that we were highly trained in the service in all fields and not given enough credit uh, in civilian life,
Mhm.
in the private sector. In the private sector, you have to go through so many years of college to learn what we already know and what we've already performed years ago in the service. Uh, the training in the service is probably quite a bit different than it is. We actually have a lot more hands-on training or practical application with a lot more supervision, and the teaching methods seem that they're quite a bit different in the service. And I think they have some very high standards in the military.
Um, how has the military experience? Has that changed any way you think about war in general? Like how you feel about the military, how you feel about the war? Has that changed at all since your service?
I try to stay away from politics because there's some of the political viewpoints that I disagree with.
Yes.
We get some political involvement that's not good, and then some that is. So
Mm-hmm.
6 of one, half a dozen of another. It's hard to say which way,
Yeah.
but I try to stay away from that. But I think overall we do pretty well for what we have.
Um, something I didn't touch on. What type of training do medics go through in the Army?
Well, that's a good one to touch down on. The type of training we go through when we first go into the service. We started out at Fort Sam Houston. This is in the Army. Brooks Army Medical Center there. They have a training unit there, and they show us everything, mostly hospital-wise, and then a little bit field situation in 10 weeks. Then they send us out to our assignments. So I went to Vietnam with only 10 weeks of training, and I was expected to perform like a doctor out in the field. In fact, when we were in combat unit, I was referred to as Doc. All medics were, and we had to learn real quick.
Yeah.
A lot of first-hand experience or hands-on. But that was really fascinating.
Yeah. So you had absolutely no medical experience when you started, right?
No, just 10 weeks of training.
10
It was
weeks.
mostly hospital training, giving shots, making beds, or whatever. Like
Yeah.
basic nursing skills.
Yeah.
That's what they gave us, and then they put us out in the field.
Wow.
And the I guess responsibility gave us probably came with the contents of the aid bag itself. We had we had 4 different IVs that we would carry. So we were doing intravenous therapy, IV therapy. We had the cut down kits, surgical cut down kits. We had suturing kits. We had a lot of different things that we actually used there. And then on top of that, I think one of the hardest ones was the pharmaceutical end of it. We had stayed so basic on the medication that we carried out in the field with us. And that seemed hard to learn the pharmaceutics. You have to understand, we were 19 years old when we went over there. We were just out of high school and through 10 weeks of training, and all of a sudden we're supposed to perform like a doctor and like a pharmacist, and that's kind of tough.
Yeah. And was it
Yeah.
different applying that, during battle in the heat of the moment? With all those skills and knowledge,
It seemed like it just came forth real quick.
Yeah.
Real
Yeah.
quick.
Second nature.
As I look back on it now, I think we gained a lot of knowledge very quickly, and I wouldn't trade it for anything in the world because it has helped me and my family quite a bit, identifying different problems that we face.
Great. Is there anything else you'd like to add? Any stories? Any, advice? Do you have advice for anyone entering, the Army or even the medic?
I find it hard to offer any advice because the military keeps changing.
Right.
It keeps changing on a daily basis. I'd like to think that a person, if they're going to go into service, they should check their status first. If I had it to do over again, I would stay active duty rather than National Guard or Reserve. And this is just due to the political backup that we have. Over the years, we've reduced the forces, active duty forces, and we rely more and more on the National Guard and the reserves, who should be back here in their own state, taking care of their business needs to be taken care of in the state. And I find myself thinking a little bit different than what the government does on that. So that's I would probably advise a person, if they're going to go into the service, just go straight active duty and be prepared for the training and the duty assignments or whatever, rather than to get picked up from a home atmosphere and shoved into another atmosphere tens of thousands of miles away, and time after time. I do disagree with the multiple tours into a combat zone. One tour is hard enough, and some of these people in the reserve units are going back 2, 3, and 4 times. And I think I would find that a lot harder. But I don't know what else I could give for advice, though. It's challenging for anybody who wants a challenge. That doesn't only apply to the medical field, that applies to all fields. There's a lot to learn, there's a lot of challenge. They learn things in the military, all branches of service, that would be hard to teach in the colleges out here.
Yeah, a lot of, street smarts rather than book smarts, right?
I think
Yeah.
so.
Yeah. So do you think, back when you enlisted, right? You enlisted, right? You weren't drafted.
I was drafted.
You were drafted.
I was
Okay.
drafted.
You think your life would turn out different had you not been drafted?
I think so.
Yeah.
I was asked a question if I should, if I'm content with the service, and the answer was yes, I guess so. So the question came back to me, then why don't you go ahead and complete 20 years of service? Because you're never happy, 100% happy with any one thing that you do. So you do what you're most content with. And in my case, I was pretty content with the armed forces, so I stayed with them.
Anything else you'd like to add?
I cannot think of anything else at this point.
Yeah. Well, it was great talking to you, and thank you for coming in, for your time.